Okay. Bulbasaur is a machine Democrat, volunteers on local campaigns. Ivysaur is a union agitator. Venusaur is always pissed off about some local zoning ordinance. Charmander is an online MAGA guy who you suspect might just be 11 years old. Charmeleon, Antifa super soldier. Charizard is really into the Second Amendment. Squirtle is an idealistic college Democrat. Wartortle is like a male feminist academic. Blastoise is a tanky. Caterpie is paying attention to his first ever election. Metapod is really into states' rights. Butterfree is a hacker guy who owns a bunch of Guy Fawkes masks and like a bunch of different colors and themes and stuff. Weedle's a Trump guy. Kakuna is a tech guy who has some sort of niche issue that he's really keyed in on. Beedrill is a Republican campaign advisor. Pidgey's a centrist. Pidgeotto's a centrist, but with glorious hair. Pidgeot just isn't paying attention. Rattata is a yelling liberal in a YouTube video that the right will use as their meme to indicate leftist for the next 5 years. Raticate is a college Republican who shows up in the background of a Trump rally. Spiro is a single-issue Republican who really only cares about Columbus Day. Firo is Spiro's mother. Ekans is a reply guy for some centrist comedian on Twitter. Arbok is the sock account of a MAGA guy pretending to be a feminist liberal. Pikachu is Barack Obama. Raichu is Cory Booker. Sandshrew is the bagel boss guy. Sandslash is the kind of anarchist who says things like solidarity means attack, but never actually leaves his house. Nidoran makes bread tube videos. Nidorina also makes bread tube videos. Nidoqueen has abandoned YouTube and is now a podcaster. Nidoran is a fascist on Twitter who has an anime AV. Nidorino is usually battling it out in the replies under a CNN article. Nidoking says he's apolitical, but really cares about false rape accusations. Clefairy is a lib who watches SNL. Clefable is just Clefairy, but with a little extra stuff. Vulpix is a TERF who doesn't want to admit that she's a TERF. Ninetales is just a full-on TERF. Jigglypuff is a lib. Wigglytuff is a lib who is kind of close to not being a lib anymore. Zubat is a Chapo Trap House fan. Golbat is a Pod Damn America fan. Oddish plays his cards close to his chest but really cares about the IRA. Gloom is all about legalizing weed. Vileplume is a huge Macron supporter. Paris is a Red Scare fan. I feel like we could say the same about Parasect. Venonat is a reporter for CNN, but not on TV. Venomoth is on TV. Diglett is a union guy who voted for Trump. Doug Trio is 3 union guys who all say that they voted for Hillary but actually voted for Trump. Meowth really only cares about lowering his taxes. Persian owns a nightclub and is mostly focused on what's going to help his business. Psyduck is the kind of guy who posts a weird thing that Trump did and then says things like, "It's only 1 o'clock." Golduck is a Zionist. Mankey is a Proud Boy. Primeape is Gavin McInnes. Growlithe is a Blue Lives Matter cop. Arcanine is that rare guy who was a cop or a troop or something like that, and now he's an anarchist and he says funny shit on YouTube sometimes. Poliwag is the kind of guy who thinks kink is politics. I feel like we could just skip over Poliworld, Poliwrath. Abra will insist that he's not into politics. Kadabra is a pickup artist. Alakazam is a pickup artist YouTuber. Machop is the son of a police officer, and you're really upset knowing that he'll probably grow up to be a police officer. Machoke is really into the Pride Parade, and that's kind of what he's focusing on this year. Machamp is an organizer. Bellsprout is constantly posting about a crazy thing that Trump said. Weepinbell just wants to go back to a time of decency in our politics. Victory Bell has fallen out the other end of Trump derangement syndrome. Tentacool goes to community board meetings and tells people to please keep their voices down. Tentacruel sits in the back corner of that meeting and seethes. Geodude is just pure ideology. Graveler is really determined to change the DSA structure documents. Golem is an accelerationist. Ponyta and Rapidash are glorious gay Antifa super soldiers. Slowpoke spends most of his time on 4chan. Slowbro has finally admitted to one of his friends that he goes on 4chan, and his friend is super stoked about it. Magnemite is a tech bro, he's really into Andrew Yang. Magneton, obviously the Yang Gang. Farfetch'd is a leftist podcaster, I feel like that goes without saying. Doduo is really stoked on Kirsten Gillibrand. Dodrio is really stoked on Tulsi. Seal is a single-issue climate change guy. Dugong knocked doors for AOC. Grimer is one of those guys who wants to peel back the EPA. So is Muck. Shelder is a Twitter troll. Glister is one of those fash guys who's really into like the glorious history of the West. Ghastly, Haunter, and Gengar are Jill Stein supporters. Onyx is woke working class. Drowsy and Hypno are LaRouche guys. Krabby votes straight down the ticket Republican because he was raised by Kingler. Voltorb is the kind of Democrat who wears shirts with donkeys on them. Electrode is the same thing, but for Republicans with elephants. Execute is extremely pro-life. Executor is extremely pro-choice. Cubone doesn't understand why people don't still talk about 9/11. Marowak lived on Long Island when 9/11 happened and will talk about it incessantly. Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan are just wonks who are really into the debates. Lickitung is just a pervert. Coughing is an irony bro. Wheezing is irony poisoned. Rhyhorn starts arguments online with people who just say pretty reasonable shit. Rhydon does the same thing, but he's really good at it. Chansey traveled to go to 2 different women's marches. Tangel is an anarcho-primitivist. Kangaskhan voted for Trump because he was afraid that Hillary Clinton was going to send his child to Russia. Horsey just likes watching politics as a sport. Seadra pretends to like watching politics as a sport, but actually gets really, really mad about it. Goldeen works on the Hill. Sea King holds public office. Staryu talks incessantly about how we have to go back to paper voting. Starmie talks incessantly about how we need to digitize voting. Mr. Mime is the last person on Earth who thinks comedians speak truth to power. Scyther is an insurrectionary anarchist. Jinx is a prank YouTuber who we find out a couple years down the line is actually a Nazi. Electabuzz is going to vote for whoever's going to keep his factory open. Magmar wants to abolish ice. Pinsir's just a massive contrarian. Tauros wants to talk about farm subsidies. Magikarp is the mythical Midwestern white working class. Gyarados is the mythical white Midwestern working class after they've been mobilized for Trump. Lapras wants Hillary to run a 3rd time. Ditto is really involved in the DSA but doesn't want you to look at his tweets from 2 years ago. Eevee holds some sort of fringe niche political ideology like a wig or something like that. Vaporeon's into Jill Stein. Jolteon's into Jill Stein. Flareon's into Jill Stein. Porygon is deep into QAnon. Ammonite still talks about Ronald Reagan. Omastar still talks about Richard Nixon. I feel like Kabuto and Kabutops are German. Aerodactyl is one of those people who's way too into Game of Thrones and constantly talks about how people need to bend the knee. Snorlax is a liberal who ignores their own impact on the climate. Articuno stands Marianne. Zapdos is a core Trump guy. Moltres is a neocon warhawk. Dratini doesn't understand why the Republicans are so mean. Dragonair doesn't understand why the Republicans are so dumb. Dragonite wants to just be friends with the Republicans, and maybe that'll help. Mewtwo is an internet atheist, libertarian type of guy, talks a lot about, like, South Park, but he's also got, like, big problems with Islam. And Mew is in space or whatever, I don't know.